I am Don Tess, better known as the Don of Beer.
And I'm Mem Sauter, better known as Pints and Panels.
Welcome to episode 74 of the All About Beer podcast. Every 2 weeks, we talk with leading experts and take a deep dive into one topic in beer. This week on the show, we're going to talk about global consistency. How do multinational brewers ensure the same experience around the world? Please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to support this show and others. Em, I know you like craft beer, but do you also like a Heineken from time to time?
I do if it's in a can.
Oh, interesting.
I struggle with green bottles.
I see how it is.
I'm sensitive to the like light struck quality. So,
Mhm.
but I remember the first time I had Heineken in a can and on draft. It's really nice on draft. It's my oh no, I'm in the Amsterdam airport. And I want beer, and actually Heineken in Amsterdam is excellent. But it's fun that
Yeah?
we're going to talk about global consistency because they have so many breweries around the world. It's not
Yeah,
just
so you
limited to
the
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam airport, you were saying, yeah,
I know, I should
you
really.
should have the same experience everywhere.
Have you ever been to the Heineken experience in
I
Amsterdam?
have, yes.
It is a silly place, and I really
A
enjoyed.
silly place.
It's silly because it's like if Disneyland had a brewery.
It's
And
like
it's
Duff
just
Gardens.
it's I really enjoyed I think we talked about this before we went on the air before. The history of Heineken, their
Yes.
commitment to like lab quality. They have the original brew house there because the Heineken experience, I believe, is housed in the old brew house.
Yes.
They have this green square bottles.
Yes, that they invented that so people could use them as bricks.
Yeah, I mean, it's so
It's pretty
fascinating.
cool.
It's really, really cool. I enjoyed, so I'm excited to talk with our guest today about like how if they have 80 breweries, um, how are they brewing such a consistent product when like because I've had Heineken in America in a can and it tastes just like the Heineken in Amsterdam. I mean,
Yeah.
albeit maybe a little fresher because the volume is higher, but it's very cool.
Yeah. It's interesting too that they want that global consistency. So even a global brand like Coca-Cola, for example, actually
Hmm.
does make differences for local tastes. If you go to the Coca-Cola, I don't know if museum's the right word, in Atlanta, you can taste Coca-Cola from around the world and they taste different. But they
They
don't
do.
want that with Heineken, which I find
No.
interesting. So,
I feel like
anyways,
with beer, you want people like, you have a Heineken and you know it's Heineken.
right.
And there's some kind of like rigorous testing that you want to make sure that it's consistent. So I get it. I mean, with a company as large as they are, if you want, they want the best product to go out. I mean, obviously every brewery does, but I think it's really fascinating. I'm excited about this talk.
Yeah, yeah. But first, everybody, if you'd like to help support the All About Beer podcast, please reach out to podcast@allaboutbeer.com. Speaking of supporting this show, here is a word from our
This
sponsors.
program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Still family owned, operated, and argued over.
New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations, head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more.
Willem van Vosberger has been a global master brewer at Heineken since 2015, driving the passion for quality and craftsmanship in brewing and cider making, and supporting the integration of brewing and craftsmanship and commercial excellence. He specializes in brewing technology and innovation and technology management. Before becoming a master brewer, Willem held various R&D roles at Heineken, such as Global Brewing, Research and Analysis Director, Global Head Brewer, and Global R&D Director. As a leader of the Heineken Brewing Guild, he ensures aligned product development, recipe upscaling, education, and training of core brewing capabilities. Welcome to the show, Willem.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it.
Because you like talking about beer, right? You and I both.
Right. It's just my life talking about beer and brewing
Yes.
some beer.
Yes. So I had the pleasure of chatting with you over lunch a few months ago, and you told me something which surprised me at the time, which is that in your database you have programmed over 1,000 recipes into your computers. And I was shocked, and you were kind of explaining how some of that, of course, is different beers, but some of that is different recipes to adjust for differences at different breweries. So can you
Exactly.
explain how your different breweries in different parts of the world require different recipes?
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you're brewing the same taste, because that's the starting point for Heineken, Heineken Original is always the same taste everywhere in the world. And when you are brewing, you're brewing in different, we are brewing in different breweries, around 80 around the world.
Ooh.
And each kitchen, as you are baking bread or making pizza, each kitchen is different. Each oven for pizza is different. So if you want to create exactly the same taste, you need to adapt your recipe slightly to accommodate for the differences in equipment among these breweries. So every brewery has a very specific recipe designed by the local master brewer to ensure that it's always the same taste.
And can you talk about how for me, I would know that altitude affects boiling temperature, for example. What other types of adjustments are necessary, I
Yeah,
guess?
well, and that has to do with the Heineken taste. The Heineken taste comes here. Heineken taste is fruity. It's a fruity aroma, and that fruity aroma comes from our Heineken A yeast. And the Heineken A yeast needs specific circumstances like low pressure, and that's why we have horizontal fermentation in horizontal tanks. Low pressure, but also certain aeration conditions so that it creates the aromas Heineken is known for. And aeration and growth circumstances for yeast are dependent on the equipment, on the sizes of equipment, on the
Ah,
length of tubing. So you need to adapt, especially in fermentation, you need to adapt your recipe to ensure that it creates that same taste.
Do you
cool.
use the same ingredients around the world,
Well,
or do you have to make adjustments for like local malt in each country?
no, so we have very strict, also we have the same ingredients everywhere in the world, at least
Oh,
in terms of specifications. So our specifications are very strict. And most of our malt comes from France, or the barley comes from France. Most of our hops, I would say almost everything comes from Yakima Valley in Washington State. Um, and then the water, what we normally do, we clean out the water and then add the salts back as to standardize them all in the same to the same conditions and the same quality. And then we have the Heineken A yeast, which we ship towards all the breweries in the world. So in the basis, all our ingredients for Heineken Original and Heineken 0.0 and Silver are all the same.
why Yakima? It feels so far away from other things. Like Germany, I know you brew other places, but Germany is right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is, but it depends on contracts. So the Heineken Original does not have a hoppy aroma.
this
The
is true.
taste is yeast forward. It comes from the yeast. we use hops for Heineken Original only for the bitterness.
Mm.
And the bitterness is mainly comes from the isoalpha acids, and the isoalpha acids are converted to alpha acids from the hops. But it doesn't really matter which variety you're using for bitterness. And then the quality and the conditions in Yakima are so good that
Mhm.
it's so consistent, because that's what we are trying to achieve, consistency, that it's easier to use hops from Yakima.
That's
Got it.
cool.
Thank you.
Um, you mentioned horizontal fermenters and
Mhm.
A yeast. So is this true around the world? Like all of your breweries that make Heineken, you've installed horizontal fermenters? And then kind of a related question is, does the altitude of the brewery affect the how the A yeast performs? And I know as a human, I don't perform as well, in the mountains as I do
Uh,
at sea level.
well, the main thing about yeast and the behavior of the yeast is dependent on the pressure it gets. And the lower the pressure, the better it, or the easier it performs. And so we have a sort of a minimum of the maximum pressure, and so also the maximum height of the beer on top of the yeast, as a specification. So that would be say around 4 meters. So any tank which is not higher than 4 meters should be okay to produce a Heineken. But as soon as you want to produce a large volume of it, then you automatically go to horizontal tanks. So in a small vertical tank, I can brew a perfect Heineken. But as soon as I want a lot of volume, then I need to go to horizontal tanks. And so the pressure, it would even be the higher you are, the better it is, because then there is lower pressure.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's interesting.
So we've talked about what goes in. Let's talk
Yeah.
about all the delicious beer that comes out. So how do you ensure that all the resulting beer does meet your global quality standards? Is it tasting panels, shipping beer, lab
Yeah, I would say
analysis, all of the above?
all of the above, plenty of things, but it all starts with, if you want to achieve quality, you need to have a reference. And this is what I miss in a lot of places. But for us, what is most important is that you have a reference, that you know what you are tasting, analyzing against.
Hmm.
And so we set our reference every 3 months. We taste, and that's specifically based on taste and analysis. And then that reference is being used every time to control all the other breweries against. And what we ask from every brewery, so we send an email, and then that can be, it's a little bit of surprise email, but it's at least every month. We ask them to, within a couple of hours, to send 2 cases of beer to the Netherlands. One case is analyzed, the other case is being tasted, and tasted against reference, analyzed against reference. And then we place a sort of a verdict to ensure that the quality stays the same. And if there is things which are not going the right direction, because mostly it's trends which we're looking at, then we ask them to adapt.
Oh, I see. It's mostly trends. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, when there is something, sometimes you maybe once every other year you maybe have something, an incident, and that maybe has to do with contamination from how do you say it, from packaging materials or something like that. But that happens rarely, because every brewery also has its own taste panel and needs to taste every batch. So then you really have missed something.
Okay. Um, in terms of like analysis on all those samples,
Yeah.
can you share what types of tests you're running? Like, is it gas chromatograph or are you just looking at,
Yeah,
IBU,
they, yeah,
alcohol
we
contact? Or
Yeah, well, it's like Yeah, well, the reference starts with tasting. We have 60 trained panelists. 12 trained panelists need to give a verdict on every sample.
Oh,
And that's where it starts. And then analysis is around 25, 30 parameters. And that goes from to support the tasting. We have gas chromatographs, liquid chromatographs for the bitterness and these type of things. And there are things like pH and the whole, I would say that the standard beer analysis, you would get a full package, is what we analyze. Always, but I'm mostly looking at trends and seeing how things are going on Stewart cards.
okay.
Are the panelists only like lab people or brewers, or can any Heineken employee train to be a panelist?
Yeah, any person working, well, let's say within the building or close by, because you still need to go to the tasting panel location and taste, and that takes maybe 15 minutes. So if you can achieve that within an hour, then everything is okay. But everybody can attend and everybody can participate if they are willing to do so.
And they're trained, you mentioned, so they know
Yeah,
what to look for.
they need to be trained, but most people, except for you're being selected on your basic taste, so the 4 or 5 basic taste, but then the capability to taste is something you can develop because it's linking words to a sensation in your brain, and that's trainable. It's just a practice. It's
Right.
getting so. I think that most people can taste, and some people are maybe less sensitive to things. But you see that anybody who wants to become a taster can become a taster.
And then, like before one of these sessions, are there rules like you're not allowed to drink coffee and you're not allowed to wear perfume or anything like that, or is it just like a,
Sure,
you know,
sure. Well, the thing is, it's more coffee sometimes interferes with your tasting, but it's also a little bit in how you calibrate yourself, because in the end you have a reference. We always taste against the reference, so
right,
the reference beer is next to it. So if you have you taste a little bit different that day, you would just check your reference, and then you can compare all the beers against the reference. So, but sure. It's not wise to have a perfume on, because you're more interfering for others around you. So we ask people to refrain from aftershave perfume. Don't drink coffee too much in an hour before. But it still is tasting against the reference, so it should not make too much difference.
right. Okay, interesting. I like that. All right, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Ready to taste your way through one of New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations? Head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy, and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, still family owned, operated, and argued over.
Okay, so let's talk about Heineken 00, which I know something you're very passionate about.
Yes.
A lot of people say that Heineken 00 is the non-alcoholic beer that tastes most like the regular version. I tend to agree with that. So How do you do that? I know you personally put a lot of work into this.
Yeah, well, personally, but with some 50 other people, so
Okay.
it's not a sole something I did all by my own. But it's all about that fruity aroma of Heineken, which is so specific for Heineken. And from research of years, we know exactly which, and it's mainly esters, which fruity aromas need to be in the aroma of a beer to recognize it as Heineken. And so when we were developing the 0.0, we were first looking at how to remove the alcohol, because as Heineken has a taste from fermentation, you need to ferment first before the tastes are in the beer anyhow. And then you need to get rid of the alcohol. And we evaluated 4 types of alcohol removal. And after 8 months of trying, we found the most ideal technology, at least for our beer, which is called vacuum distillation. And then we bring back the aromas, because when you distill out the alcohol, you also distill out part of the aroma. So by knowing which aromas need to be in the taste of Heineken, we have selected and then brought back these aromas needed to accomplish that taste again. So that's a little bit how it functioned, and it's a little bit of balancing and looking at what can we do and not. But it's there will always be a taste difference, because in the beginning you will taste a little bit of the malty aroma, which is still there, and then alcohol just has taste. So you cannot, you cannot compensate for that. You can just let the mind think that it's drinking an original by giving the mind or the taste a person the same aromas. But in the end, in taste, alcohol still has an influence.
Right.
Do you use the same process to ensure consistency for 0.0 as with the regular? I mean, I would assume.
Yes, yes.
Yes, if
0.0 is following the same process. Needs to be sent to the Netherlands. There are less breweries producing 0.0
Oh,
because
okay, yeah. That was another follow-up
equipment.
we
That's
had.
a
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's an expensive equipment, so we are concentrating for every. It depends a little bit the market,
hmm
but in the end, it follows exactly the same quality procedures, the same control, everything.
So how many breweries do make 0.0, and is the only difference that they have the alcohol removing equipment? Like, is Heineken 0.0 fermented in horizontal fermenters, and all of that is just like with regular
Yeah,
Heineken, but then the alcohol.
in principle, you can only produce the Heineken 0.0 if you produce Heineken Original,
Okay.
and then not all of the Heineken Original producing breweries have that equipment. But I would say that I don't know it by heart, but maybe at least 50% of them have such an equipment.
Okay.
Where is like Heineken 0.0 the most popular? I know Europe has a huge NA culture and America is starting to follow. Like, where have you
Yeah,
seen 0.0 really take off?
yeah. 0.0. The thing is that Heineken 0.0 opens up a lot of markets. It's and just because it tastes so good compared to the original,
hmm
and consumers recognize that, and we are world number one, the leader in the lager segment as a 0.0. And you see that countries like the US, which was not really a standard 0.0 market, is getting quite it's taking off. Brazil, you see the same, but in Europe, like Spain and Poland, Germany, those are also big. The Netherlands getting bigger and bigger in 0.0. And we also launched in Japan, which is also a 0.0 country.
Hmm.
So
Mm.
You see it everywhere in the world, but in Western Europe and now also in Brazil, you see that it's getting a lot of vibes, a lot of sales.
I recently saw a post with Heineken 00 on draft,
Yeah.
which I think is very interesting. Can you talk about, some of the innovations that had to go into that? Because it's not just the same as putting a regular beer on draft.
No, it isn't because the thing about 00, you can you can do a lot, but there is one thing you want to avoid is that alcohol is being produced.
Right.
And the biggest contaminator, to say so, is yeast. Yeast is everywhere. Is everywhere around us, and especially that's ale yeast, lager yeast not so much, but ale yeast is everywhere. And as soon and in an 00 beer there is still food for the yeast. In an original beer the food is finished. The yeast has eaten everything. So and there is alcohol to stop also the yeast or other creatures from growing. But in an 00 beer there is still some food left. So as soon as you offer that food to yeast, which could be everywhere, then it will produce alcohol. So what you need to do is to really keep everything as cold as possible so that the yeast as a creature is not doing anything because it's too cold. So for our systems for which we use and the main contamination for that would be the beer lines. So the sprout of a beer tap and the beer lines are potential sources of yeast. And so when we do 00 on draft, we have either removable beer lines, so that's in small lines in what we call the blade, which is an 8-liter system, or in the David system, which is a 20-liter system. There you replace the beer line every time when you connect a keg. And for
Oh,
the larger installations, we make sure that the beer line is cold up to the sprout in such a way that a yeast cannot grow. And this is the main investments you need to do, because otherwise you still create alcohol in your 00, and then you have a product integrity issue.
and a safety issue,
It's not
right?
so much that it becomes dangerous for you, but it's more that you could have 1 to 2% alcohol being formed. So
I
that's
Oh,
see.
still a little bit too much.
yes.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. So Heineken owns a lot of brands, like or also brews a lot of brands, Lagunitas, Affligem. Do you
Mhm.
apply the same consistency standards to these beers, or because they're like craft, as I make air quotes that no one can see? Do you accept some sort of variability acceptance, or because these are larger brands, they go through the screen, like not scrutiny, but lab tests and panels and all sorts of stuff like that?
So the way we analyze and test is all the same.
Hmm.
The strictness of procedures is a brand dependent decision.
Hmm.
Do you
Oh,
want to
okay.
be, how do you want to do this? But the example, so the Lakmus test and the example and the reference they have is the Heineken brand. Um, and I would say that most of the brands are following the same rhythm. Maybe they don't do central tasting because they do that in their opco, because most brands are not international. I think that maybe only 10 or 20 of our brands are crossing borders, or having different breweries brewing the same brand. But most beers are local, and then it's the local brewery who tests and does the same quality control as they would for Heineken.
Okay.
Oh,
Awesome.
so you kind of give them the rubric to say this is
Yes,
how we do it, and then they kind of they
exactly.
use that and they keep it local. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it's yeah, the feel yeah. Interesting.
So
Good
because
balance.
if you are, for instance, producing Heineken and you need to have so you need to have also your local taste panel,
Hmm.
then you better use it for all your beers, no?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, well, am I gonna tell you, you probably have the best job in the world. I mean, we talk to beer people all the time, but I think I'm most envious of you.
Thanks.
This was a great chat. Thank you very much for your time and
You're
for
welcome.
teaching me everything about global consistency. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so did that episode meet your expectations?
Of course, all of our episodes meet my
Yeah, that's it. Did it exceed your expectations?
I liked the I like that anyone can be a tasting panelist.
Yes.
And
I
if
mean,
they
why not? I
can,
mean, everybody drinks Heineken, right?
yeah.
So,
And then I liked how he was talking about how, with proper training, anyone can be, everyone
yes.
listening to this show right now is a taster.
Yes.
And I think that, working in a beer setting, you can go and you can try beer and you know what's good and what isn't, and they have the reference. They know like this is how it's supposed to taste, and they all around the world. And so when you go from Japan, let's say, all the way to Brazil to Africa, the product is going to be, they take it seriously. And
Yeah.
I commend them on that because,
Even
you know,
what surprised me is when he talked about like um tube length. They have to just they have to adjust the recipe for like the length of some of the tubes, which is just
yeah.
yeah.
And I love that they've solved the like, putting things on draft on NA on draft rather, and then talking about, how many people it took to do 0-0 and how like he was very open and forthright about the process, and I was very happy to learn about how they made it. So
Yeah.
it's
What one the my favorite thing, sorry to interrupt you.
no, you're
I
I'm
I almost wanted to exclaim when he was explaining it, but and we sort of touched upon this a little bit in our episode with Randy Mosher, but the way we perceive anything, it's not just taste, but the way we perceive anything, our brain likes to fill in gaps.
mm,
And so I thought it was very interesting how he was saying like, there's no alcohol in Heineken 0.0 and alcohol has flavor. So it will never be identical. But if you fill in enough of the other pieces of the puzzle, your brain will fill in the gap of the alcohol and you will think you're drinking Heineken, even though it actually does taste slightly different if you think about it if you do a chemical analysis of it, the flavors
hmm.
in Heineken 0.0 are different, but your brain will perceive it as the same because there are enough other cues that are identical. I think that's fast. I love that. I love the human brain, you see. So someday I hope to get one.
You have someone. You're done. Well on your way, Don. You're well on your way.
Thank you. Thank you someday. Okay, please, everybody, visit oh,
All
allaboutbeer.
about deer. I love all about deer.
Speaking, see, I told you I need a brain. Please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow us on social media at allaboutbeer. And if you're feeling generous, please visit allaboutbeer.com/support to support this show and others. If you have questions for the experts, please email podcast@allaboutbeer.com. That's also the email for feedback, suggestions, or to inquire about supporting this show through advertising. And how can people reach out to you?
I am at Pints and Panels on Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram, and my website is pintsandpanels.com. What about you, Don?
I am at the Dawn of Beer on X Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram, and I am at the Beer Dawn on Facebook. And people can drop me an email at dawn@thedawnofbeer.com. If you enjoyed this podcast as much as I did, then please like and subscribe to the show. We always ask for this because it really helps us out. It costs you nothing. It's a few seconds of your time. And here is a final word from our sponsors.
Ready to taste your way through one of New York's most exciting craft beverage destinations? Head to Westchester County in the scenic Hudson Valley, where more than 23 breweries, distilleries, and cideries are pouring up local flavors in every glass. Get started with the Westchester County Craft Beverage Trail free digital passport that makes exploring easy and no app download is required. Just check in at participating locations to earn points and prizes, all while enjoying a taste. Use the passport to tag your favorites and discover new hop spots like Broken Bow Brewery in Tuckahoe, Captain Lawrence Brewing Company in Elmsford, Hardscrabble Cider in North Salem, and River Outpost Brewing Company in Peekskill, and many more.
This program is brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, where trailblazing runs in the family. From crafting a movement with their iconic pale ale to taking the IPA haze craze nationwide with Hazy Little Thing, it's an adventurous spirit you can taste in every sip. Find your next favorite beer wherever fine beverages are sold. With new brews for every season, there's always something to discover. Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Still family-owned, operated, and argued
This show
over.
is produced by All About Beer. Visit allaboutbeer.com for articles, notes on this show and others, and to connect via the newsletter and social media. Cheers!
You're right, Marge. No deer for a month. Did you say deer or beer? Deer.